so much for watching this video. My name is Bree and this is my YouTube channel. I am doing a 31-day video challenge, making a video every single day, getting it up on YouTube. I am going over my personal life experiences to share with you the life lessons and insights that I have gleaned from them. This is day 4 of the challenge. Today is a big one. I want to talk about my experience overcoming shyness. It was a huge part of my life journey, trying to break out of this shy shell that I was in. I'm gonna try to keep my story as short as possible, and then toward the end of this I want to give some specific things that I did, techniques and the mindset that I used to overcome shyness, and then something else on the other side of that I've also worked with, of being more authentically confident and outgoing. Before high school, I was homeschooled most of that time. And during middle school years, when most people my age were struggling with puberty and adolescence and all the drama and angst around that, I was developing in a whole other way. Reading spiritual books, I was really interested in afterlife and reincarnation and angels and energy and spirit and all these kind of deeper, non-physical concepts. And I also spent a lot of time in nature and would be out in the woods, and I'd spend a lot of time in solitude, really connecting with the natural rhythms and cycles of the earth. So I came from that, and then when I started public school and high school, it was complete culture shock. I could not wrap my head around all the petty drama and issues and backstabbing and teasing and tearing each other down, and it just didn't make sense to me. I, at the same time, really wanted to feel comfortable in this setting. I was stuck in it for 4 years. I wanted to be able to navigate it with confidence and be popular and be able to just enjoy the experience, but it was a struggle. I pushed really hard to get outside of my comfort zone, and I constantly did things that shy people don't do. I got up and danced at the school function. I was the first to give a presentation in the front of the class. By senior year, I felt like I had grown by leaps and bounds. So it was a slap in the face when senior titles came out and I was voted most shy. I was so pissed. I had worked so hard for 4 years to drop that label, and yet I was still perceived that way by everyone around me. I went straight to the teacher in charge of yearbook and asked that it not be put in print, which was a little maybe over the top, but it was really important to me at the time. I, again, had put in so much effort to breaking out of my shell that, I wanted to stand my ground for who I felt I was. After graduation that summer, I did a social experiment to further break out of that shy reputation. I lived in a very small town, and I went down the main street of our town to the library and back with a mustache drawn on my face. And this was before mustaches were cool. It was an amazing experience. I was so nervous and scared to do it, but I knew I had to, because I had to show myself that I had the guts and the courage to just do something that daring that most people would shrink from, would be like, no way, I'm not gonna look that stupid in front of everybody. I did it, and I had the most incredible revelation from it. Here I'm walking down the street and people were noticing me, and they're looking at me funny, like, what am I seeing that right? And they get up close to me and they just break out in this big huge grin and say, nice mustache. And I was like, thank you, and we just go on our way. And that was it. I mean, that didn't hurt. That was fun. Suddenly I realized that to be perceived as a confident, outgoing person, it really just took having the courage to be noticed and to stand out. Later, some years later, I would eventually apply that by, as I mentioned again yesterday in my video about exploring aspects of my appearance by wearing vintage clothes, makeup. I dyed my hair. The big transformation for that was cutting my hair short in a bob and dyeing it black. And again, I was wearing the vintage clothes, so I really looked unique, and I'd walk into a room and no one was going to think there was a shy, quiet girl. And suddenly it made it so much easier. My appearance and the way I dressed and how I started to carry myself announced how I felt about myself for me. So I didn't have to quite work as hard, but even so, I had developed the habit of being the first person to introduce myself, carrying conversations, getting up in front of a crowd, dancing when no one else was. I was very bold socially because of the kind of training that I went through to get over that again and again, and to face those social fears. I also started back up the film club on my college campus and was elected president. Suddenly everyone knew me, and I had this big social circle. I finally felt like I made the official switch. I'd been working on this transformation of overcoming shyness for years, and finally I hit the moment. I clicked over and it was locked in. I was no longer a shy person. Something interesting happened from that, though. I was so confident and enjoying my newfound social butterflyness that I took on too much, and I'm going to talk about that in another video that time, but right now I just want to share how I had kind of externalized. I got so far out of myself in projecting this confidence and social courage that I got too far outside of myself. I lost my center. Before that point, I was a very grounded person. I had both feet on the floor, and just my energy was calmer. And after that, I had anxiety. I was stressed out. I was going constantly, and I emotionally and mentally felt a lot weaker than I had been. I'd always felt like a very strong person inside, and I lost that. I lost touch with myself. So now I had to go through this next stage of my development to, I had finally burst from the cocoon and flew into the sky, and I realized that I didn't know how to fly very well. It took time, as growth does in life. Eventually, I started to come down from it and started to get back to a more easier way of being. I realized that I had been pushing myself out of my comfort zone for so long that I didn't really have a comfort zone anymore, and I wanted a break. I needed to just relax for a while and stop trying so hard. And it's not so much that I tried so hard anymore, it's just that anytime there was an opportunity that dared me, where I got a little nervous, got a little, some of that social butterflies feeling, I would lean in. I would raise my hand, I'd volunteer, I'd put myself out there. And finally, I just let myself stop doing that. and blend in with the crowd and be a little quiet and a little unnoticed. It was a huge relief, and from that I could kind of rebuild myself inside. And once I got stronger within myself, kind of recentered, I was then able to kind of have this second blossoming where I felt authentically confident and outgoing and social. One really important thing that I did was to start opening up about some of the things that I was interested in, the deeper life meaning, spiritual things. I finally started putting that out there and exposing these truer aspects of myself. And finally I could relax in my skin in a way that I hadn't been able to before, really truly myself for the first time. So now that I've talked about my personal experience with shyness, I want to give you some tips and techniques how I did that in case you yourself are a shy person. And I want to just add a side note here. If you're shy, that's not the issue. What needs work is if you feel uncomfortable with that, if you don't feel like yourself, if you feel like you're just bottled up and you want to release that, you want to be who you are and not be scared and not and then also to know how to navigate the world in a confident way. Affirmations and positive self-talk were really important to cultivate a mindset of being more loving to myself, encouraging myself that I could do it. And as I learned to accept my physical appearance, I was also doing affirmations for being a confident, outgoing person. And it really helped. It helped to remind me on a regular basis, encourage myself to keep at it. Another thing that you can do is to, like I did, wear your confidence. Adopt a style that is unique and interesting and bold. Dye your hair, get a piercing, something that puts your inner self on the outside in a way that is noticeable. And I'm not suggesting that so that you are more interesting to other people. And I'm certainly not suggesting you do any of those things if that's not really you. But I found in my experience that playing with your own appearance, that is your presentation to the world. Trying on different aspects of yourself through your clothing and your look can really bring out different aspects of your personality, different aspects of yourself. A few years ago, I started feeling drawn to professional style. I wanted a blazer, I wanted slacks, I wanted to experience that version of myself. So I did. I got those and I actually ended up getting a corporate job and found out it wasn't for me at all. But I leaned into that. I explored it and got a feel for what that me was like, and found out it wasn't really fully me. But it's okay to experiment that way and try yourself on. Another suggestion I have is to use an object, something symbolic to you, a talisman. My shyness journey was me stepping into my true self through the stars. I actually was born 3 months premature, so I was supposed to be born in July and be a Cancer sign. Instead, I was born in April and I'm an Aries. But all the way up until my teens, I exhibited every bit of the Cancer traits and none of the Aries. At least I felt not very much of that. My mom could attest that I was an incredibly stubborn child, and I know that's a primary aspect of the Aries. But anyways, the point being, I used this story for myself and thought, okay, I was born an Aries. I'm going to claim that for myself. I want to step into who I truly am. and I started wearing an Aries charm necklace. When I put that on, and also the red shirt, because that isn't the Aries color, I put those on and immediately felt a shift. Immediately felt secure in myself and felt more confident and more capable of being that person. It was amazing. It was kind of like magical. Third tip that I have for you is to find a group that shares an interest with you. Find a little tribe, a little niche. In college, when I got into the film club and I found other people who were super passionate about movies like I was, and suddenly it was so much easier to connect and to socialize with people on this basis. And the other thing with overcoming shyness and being more socially confident is to get outside of your comfort zone. I know it is the standard in developing yourself socially, but it's true. That's really what it comes down to, is get outside your comfort zone, push yourself. When you start feeling that nervousness and that fear and wanting to shrink away from a social situation, that's the moment to train yourself to push through it. It's scary, but it won't really hurt you. And I can tell you that over time, you will get so good at it that it'll be very easy to override. And it will almost be kind of a thrill to be able to go, all right, that's my cue, let's do this. I know I did mention that doing that over a long period for myself started to wear me down and I need to take a break. So you may find that for yourself eventually as well. But that brings me to this next level of being confident in yourself, separate and apart from shyness. I think when you break over the shyness barrier, you'll realize that it was just an artificial block for you. And what you're truly after, what we're all really after, is to feel good in our skins, to be confident, and to feel at home in the world, and to be able to freely interact with others and engage and feel good about it. Go natural. I finally stopped wearing all the vintage clothes and doing the makeup, and I started wearing leggings and comfy shirts, and I wore less makeup, and it was easy for me to kind of relax into my appearance and not need to stand out so much. And even though that was a true part of me, I loved that style. I loved that look. It felt like me for a long time, but I did start to outgrow it. And then I kind of got back to, okay, how do I really feel in my skin, and can I do that without any of the extras? I've also stopped wearing makeup, so I'm right now going through another process of more natural confidence. The other way to kind of get really grounded in yourself and feel comfortable in the world is to rest and relax. So I know this is going opposite to what I said before of like push through it, get outside of your comfort zone. You also need to take care of yourself. You also need to spend time easing into your own energy, and especially if you're going through a dramatic change from, like, if you're going to, really shy, quiet to confident, outgoing, really social. For myself, I, just jumped over from one to the other and landed, and suddenly just actually didn't even really know how to navigate on the other side of that. I'd never experienced being fully there before. So being able to ease up and let myself calm down and have a more peaceful time let me reconnect with myself. The other thing to do is to express yourself. Initially, you can do that through style or your appearance, but eventually you'll want to get to a point where you're expressing that through what you share, what you talk about, and your lifestyle. Let those things reflect the inner you. The last note that I want to give here is about shyness versus introversion. I know there's a running joke on the internet that it's all comprised of introverts who are socially awkward and afraid to leave their house, and they're just at home with Netflix and their cat. And not that there's anything wrong with it, because Netflix and kitties are awesome. But to me, the really only main difference between introversion and extroversion is that as an introvert, you recharge by being alone, by going inward, by spending time in solitude. As an extrovert, you recharge by being out with people, and that energy boosts you up. And as far as I'm concerned, that's really the only difference. So you can still be an introverted person and be confident and outgoing and socially adept. It's possible. If you're shy and you feel trapped in this shell, start to break out of it. Turn your shell into a cocoon that you can burst forth from. And when you get those wings, learn to fly. You can do it. Whatever you do, be yourself.